The early to mid-2000s was a time when racing games reached peak popularity, most notably racing games with a street racing and tuner backdrop. And one of the games to blame for the genre's boost in popularity would be none other than Need for Speed Underground. Need for Speed Underground was released in 2003, and this installment would change the franchise forever. There were a lot of firsts with Underground. It was the first game in the series to feature a career mode that had a storyline, and it was also the first game in the series to allow the player to have a garage and customize their vehicles. In 2006, it was time for the Need for Speed franchise to make the jump to 7th gen hardware. This is where Need for Speed Carbon comes in. You see, back then, it was common for developers to release a different version of a 7th gen game on multiple platforms. Most of the time, the game itself would either be a watered down version of the current gen game, or in various cases, a completely different game altogether. Think of stuff like the PlayStation 2 and Wii versions of Sonic Unleashed and the, oh man, the interesting Wii iterations of AAA titles at the time. And that's where Need for Speed Carbon Own the City comes into play. Let's take a trip to Burnaby, British Columbia. The then named EA Canada, now known as EA Vancouver, is a subsidiary of EA Games who is tasked with developing major sports titles like FIFA and NHL. Within EA Canada, there was a subdivision of developers known as Team Fusion, whom were given the job to develop PSP versions of some of EA's major releases. Games such as Fight Night Round 3, The Sims 2 Pets, and the 2006 and 7 editions of the NBA and Madden games, just to name a few. 2006 would be the year that Need for Speed would make the jump to the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, with Need for Speed Carbon being released in October of that year. However, for this video, we're going to be focusing on the PSP version of the game, the version I played the most growing up. Now, it's time for us to take back the city and reunite our crew.
Down, bro.
Need for Speed Carbon Own the City takes place in Coast City in the year 2006. During a high-stakes street race between rival crews, the protagonist, you, and your brother get into a huge car crash. The car accident leaves you with amnesia, and your brother Mick, who was the leader of your crew, the Lucky Sevens, dead. After being discharged from the hospital, your former crewmates Carter and Sarah show up and they begin speculating that someone may have been involved with Mick's death. Not only that, but after the accident, all of the street racing gangs opportunistically take advantage of the fallout and swoop in to take control of any and all territory around the city. This in turn leaves the Lucky Sevens disbanded and left without any territory to claim as their own. Because of this, Carter and Sarah believe that Mick's death was a setup. With this in mind, you and your friends assemble your own crew and fight together to take over the city. When you start a new game, the first 3 cars that you're able to choose from are the Mazda Speed 3, the Nissan 240 SX, and the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 9. I would highly recommend starting off with the Evo 9 because it handles and looks better than the other 2 cars. I also grew to love Mitsubishi vehicles as a kid because the Evo 9 was the first car I drove in this game. Now that you have your own car and safe house, it's time to race! Managing your crew is the name of the game in Own the City. As you progress through the story, more racers will be added to your crew as you and your gang become more noticed in the Coast City racing scene. In order to make it out on top, you need to call in your wingmen during races. Wingmen are crew members who have special abilities that are divided into 3 classes. Let's go over them. Brawler wingmen are tasked with swooping in and knocking around their opponent's vehicle. After the beatdown, the vehicle that just got beat up will be out of commission for a short time. The biggest drawback to this, however, is that the game will pull a Max Payne and take your camera away from your car to show you the opponent's car getting destroyed. This is very annoying, and it can easily throw you off from the race. There have been many times where I've almost lost first place just because the game's devs thought that I really needed to watch the epic slow-mo takedown. Drafter is an incredibly useful class. A wingman with Drafter pulls their car in front of you and starts releasing this mist-like substance from their car. And when this happens, your car gets a dramatic boost of speed. Another cool thing about the Drafter class is that your car is basically magnetized within the cloud of mist the entire time. I highly recommend that you bring a Drafter with you to every race, since they can bring you to first place easily. And last but not least is the Assassin class. Assassin, in my opinion, is the worst class in the game. What an Assassin does is they swoop in front of an opponent's car and release a spike strip. The reason why I don't like this class so much is because half the time it'll work. As a matter of fact, that's the main reason why I barely have any footage of an assassin putting in any work. In the time it takes for your wingman to position themselves in order to release the spike strip, you will already have overtaken both your wingman and the person you sent them after. Whatever you do, do not bring an assassin to a race. Instead, bring a brawler or a drafter. Those are the only 2 classes that matter. There are also 2 subclasses, Fixer and Mechanic. Fixers give you an extra cash bonus at the end of any race. These guys are good for when you want to grind for money to spend on cars or performance parts. Mechanics, on the other hand, give your car's performance an extra boost. This is useful for when you're racing on a long track or on a track with lots of sharp corners. Now that we're done talking about the crew feature, let's talk about the general gameplay. At the start of Own the City, your crew has no control over any territory in this town. In order to win back territory, you need to complete a series of races within a district. Once you've completed a certain number of races in that territory, it's time to face off against that district's boss. Own the City's career mode sees you competing in a number of different game modes all throughout. Circuit races are pretty basic. You go around a track for a certain number of laps until you win. What more can I say about it? It should be noted though that in this game, no matter what game mode you're playing in, you must come in first place. Second or third won't cut it, you absolutely must come in first or you'll lose the race completely. Sprint is a point-to-point race with no laps at all. Since there aren't any laps, you're constantly battling for your spot in first place. You must maintain first place position at all times. If you fall behind for any reason, make it your absolute priority to climb back up. Remember earlier when I said that the game won't tolerate you finishing in anything that's not first place? This is taken to the extreme in Knockout. Knockout is an elimination mode where the person who is in last place before the end of the lap is taken out of the race completely. Your job is to keep from falling behind and come out on top as more and more of your opponents get eliminated. Delivery is a game mode that requires some finesse. The player is tasked with delivering a package to a drop-off point. What's different about this mode is that all of the walls and roadblocks that are seen in other races are gone. You must follow the arrow without getting lost in order to win. I like that this mode takes away the roadblocks though, and lets the player do some on-the-fly thinking if they ever go off course. Either that or you could just restart the race completely and remember to avoid that hazard or wrong turn the next time you come across it. Own the City wouldn't be a Need for Speed game without some sort of chase sequence, and that's where escape comes in. You've been spotted in enemy territory, and rival racers are hot on your trail. The object is to outrun racers before the clock expires. The objective is pretty straightforward. Although what's really hilarious is that Carter tells you to get out of enemy territory, but he never explains what'll happen to you if you don't escape in time. Do they kidnap you? Do they hold you for ransom? Do they kill you? Carter's not really a fan of disclosing the specifics.
To insist that you leave.
This nigga serious.
Let me be emphatic. You need to take your black ass across Charles Street where it belongs.
What? Hold on now. Hold on now. You know what I'm saying? He don't know what this is. It ain't what he think. You know what I'm saying? First of all, we got permission to grind in these here towers. Second of all, I don't give a fuck what the thing you need.
Alternatively, Prey becomes Predator in Crew Takedown. In Crew Takedown, the roles are reversed, and the player's job is to take down as many rival crew members as possible. By rubbing your cars against theirs. Yeah. Anyway, this mode is an excellent way to grind for money in case you're in need of some cash, because once the player reaches the maximum threshold of enemies eliminated, they can use the remaining time left on the clock to take down more enemies for extra cash. It should be noted though that the AI starts to rubber band like crazy once you move on to taking down extra racers. I'll go a bit more into the AI later. One design improvement that Coast City has over the PSP version of Rockport is that the locales of each track offers far more variety than its predecessor. In 5.10, the tracks mostly took place on 6-lane freeways, save for a few remotely urban areas. In Own the City, the tracks will have you blasting through the dense and neon-lit downtown area, a college campus, junkyards, mountainside roads,
Deja vu, I just been in this place before. Higher on the street, and I know it's my time to go.
an airport parking lot, residential neighborhoods, and steep freeways that were just built for racing. There's also a free roam mode, which, gonna be totally honest, is completely pointless. In free roam, you can take your car out for a spin and get into chases with the police. That's right, the police make a return in this game, and they're never present in any of the races in career mode. I feel like the police were meant to serve a purpose in career, but they were probably delegated to free roam, either because of time or because the dev team didn't know how to properly implement them. Don't let their lack of presence fool you. If you think the police in Grand Theft Auto 4 is relentless, then you haven't seen the police in this game.
This is under the police. This is under police.
Look at these guys. They'll just throw themselves at you and pile on top of your car until they catch you. Oh yeah, and if you're ever in a police chase, you'd better get comfortable. These chases can last for minutes on end. You also can't quit out to the main menu either, so your only option is just to quit out of the game entirely. While I was playing through this game and capturing footage, I had gotten myself into a car chase that lasted 11 minutes. While we're on the topic of AI, listen. I get that rubber banding is necessary in racing games in order to make them more fun and interesting, challenging, whatever. I understand that. But when your AI is more aggressive than the police in Grand Theft Auto Liberty City stories, something is very wrong. During races, your opponents will drive recklessly, smashing into other racers and their surroundings. No one is safe. Opponent AI will smash into walls, slide against the railings, slam into medians, and sometimes they'll even cause full-on pileups in the middle of the road. I've lost count of the number of times I've had to restart races because the other racers forgot that they weren't in a Twisted Metal game. Oh yeah, fun fact, for some reason whenever the other racers crash into a civilian vehicle, their car stops completely dead in its tracks. Yet when you collide into a civilian, your car knocks their vehicle out of the way like they're Team Rocket. I don't know if this was intentional or if the dev team forgot to program proper collision detection for the player. It's weird because in 5.10, if you collide with a civilian, your car stops dead in its tracks. I don't know, I've always found it weird ever since I played Own the City and 5.10 back-to-back as a kid. A Need for Speed game wouldn't be complete without its selection of trademarked music. In the game's menu, you can go to this media hub called the EA Media Center. There you can watch the game's cutscenes, watch a trailer for NBA Live 07, and listen to the game's music. The song selection for Own the City really meshes well with the gritty yet carefree tone and atmosphere of the game, and it helps that the sound team went out of their way to select artists that span a wide variety of genres. You want rap? Boom, you got Show You How to Hustle by Pharrell. Although if the game were released in 2008, it'd be pretty dope getting to hear one of Nerd's singles from their third album, Seeing Sounds. In the mood for some punk rock? No problem. I'm No Good by The Vacation is the track to rock out to while you're driving at top speed along the freeway while you're fighting for first place. Or how about some electronic music? Steamworks by The Presets has your back. It's a chill and relaxing song to vibe to while you ride along the mountainside with the sound of your car's engine accompanying the tune. One peculiar thing about the music player is that it allows you to import your own music into the game, but you can only hear your music in the menus and not like the races like you'd expect. The developers even had the courtesy to leave a disclaimer about that in the FAQ section of the EA Media Center. It's better than nothing, really. Maybe it's just me, but I really love when games let you play your own music in them. Hearing my own music in a game adds a bit of a personal touch to it, which is why as a teen I used to get excited when the upper right corner of the back of a PS3 game had the words custom soundtrack listed as one of their features. As a matter of fact, 2010's Need for Speed Hot Pursuit not only let you play your own music, but the game would even go as far as to let you change the tracks in the middle of the race with one of the shoulder buttons. However, this feature has been removed in the PS4 and Xbox One remaster, most likely due to the streaming apps like Spotify allowing you to play your own music during a game. So overall, Need for Speed Carbon Own the City is a pretty solid racer. It's got some unique features such as building up your crew for future races and using your ride partners to take down opponents. The music's nice, the track layout and locales have been improved, and the handling of the cars feels smooth. My only gripes with this game is the messy AI and the pointless addition of the open world. If the developers had given Coast City more of a reason to explore its open world such as optional challenges and whatnot, I think that I probably would have forgiven it. On the bright side though, the open world is a good way to test out any new car you bought. Well, that wraps it up for this review. What did you guys think? Did any of you also play this game? And if so, what did you think of it? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future uploads from me. If you want to keep up with any of my future projects, make sure to follow me on Twitter or join my Discord server. And if you want to support this channel, feel free to donate to either my Cash App or my PayPal. Links to all of that will be in the description. Thank you so much.